In this lecture, we are going to talk about autoboxing and unboxing, so primitive types and object types. So if we want to create an wrapper class for an integer, we have to use something like this. We try to create an integer object, so int object. We can do something like this, but it is not a good programming practice. So in the old days, we use something like this, that we instantiate a new integer object with the value, but it is deprecated. So instead of this, we use something like this, integer and the value of 100. So this is how we make sure that the int object is going to store the integer value 100. So if I print out int object and save and run it, of course the result is going to be 100. If we use, for example, 300, save it and run it, then the result is going to be 300. So this is how we can create a wrapper class, so an object for an integer. Of course we can do the same for a double. So double object is equals to a double and the value of, for example, 30. In this case, it is going to be converted into a double. So if we print out the value of the double object, as you can see, it is converted into double. So this is an integer, but it's going to be converted into a double precision floating point number. Okay, so this is how we can create wrapper classes for objects, so integers, doubles. Okay, by the way, if we create something like this, so autoboxing object, if we use something like this, the exact same thing is going to happen. So in the background, Java is going to use something like this, that integer value of 10. So basically this is called autoboxing, that we use a primitive type and it's going to be transformed into an integer object. So under the hood, Java is going to use something like this, integer value of 300. If we print out the autoboxing object, the value is going to be 10, so it is working fine. So that's called autoboxing. Let's talk about unboxing. Unboxing is the procedure when we transform an object into a primitive type. So for example, we would like to make sure that primitive type as an integer, sorry for that a typo, we just have to reference, for example, the integer object. So if we do something like this, that it is an object, but here we use a primitive type integer, if we do something like this, then this is called unboxing, when we transform an object into a primitive type. If we print out the primitive type, of course the value is going to be 300. As you can see, I'm going to get rid of this. It is a bit misleading. So let's save it and run it, and the value is 300. Okay, so this is how we use autoboxing, this is how we use unboxing. By the way, don't forget that behind the scenes a method is getting called every time when autoboxing or unboxing happens. So this is what we have been talking about, that when we use something like this, then this method is going to be called under the hood, which has a bad effect for performance, especially if many of these happens, which means that autoboxing and unboxing are helpful, but use them only if it's necessary. Otherwise, prefer primitive types in order to make sure that the running time of our application is going to be as good as possible. So autoboxing and unboxing operations are quite expensive. Let's try to avoid it whenever we can. Thanks for watching.